Welcome to Oddball. Amin, Elhassan, Izzy, Gutierrez. It's All-Star Week. Oh, it's all building up. That excitement is building in the air. But you know what the big news is, besides the fact that today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Hell yeah.
The big news is that Marc, Lori, and Alex Rodriguez say they have emerged victorious in their battle with Glenn Taylor for ownership of the NBA's Minnesota Timberwolves and the WNBA's Lynx. Let's take a look at that Shams tweet up there. Arbitrators have ruled Marc, Lori, and Alex Rodriguez over Glenn Taylor as the next majority ownership group of the T-Wolves. Lori and Rodriguez told ESPN the NBA's Board of Governors now has to approve the sale. Of course, this all started back in March when Taylor called off the sale of the final 40%. He said they made late payments or some I don't know. A-Rod and Lori now, as I said, won the arbitration. Izzy, this is big news, obviously, for A-Rod and Marc Lori. I'm sure they're happy to have all of this past them for them to actually be real life 100% NBA owners where they're in control, they're in charge, they're on the Board of Governors. But I think we need to help them out a little bit, don't you?
I mean, it's really weird that Alex Rodriguez is now like the face of an ownership group for an NBA team. So, yeah, I think you and me might know a little bit more about what it takes to run an NBA franchise.
Yeah, we'll give them a little do's and don'ts for being a new NBA owner. And this is based off of the mistakes of others. You know, we learn by observing. You don't have to die to know death. You can just walk through the graveyard of everyone else. So here we go. Let's start with the first don't. Don't trade your franchise player if he's like 25 and has been all NBA 5 or 6 times. Just out the blue, that one hit me. I don't know, Izzy.
I wonder why. I don't know who the new owner is in Dallas that maybe didn't get our do's and don'ts list, but they messed this one up. And the interesting part about this is before, well, to me anyway, before the sale was announced or the agreement was announced and Rodriguez is taken over here, there was news about the Dallas Mavericks having spoken to a third team. It wasn't just the Bucks, which we sort of unveiled there when we talked to Chris Haynes, but it was also the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they sort of knocked on the door about Anthony Edwards. And they said no. And I'm wondering what you think about that no. Like, did they do the right thing there?
Yeah, I mean, if you are the Minnesota Timberwolves and you're minding your business and the phone rings and you pick up the phone, you say hello and say, hey, it's Nico Harrison. Do you want Luka Doncic for Anthony Edwards? The first thing I would think is, this is a joke. Who's prank calling me? You hang up. Like, Glenn, is that you again? Right? But then the next thing I would think to myself is, I kind of want to stick with the devil I know versus the devil I don't. Because here's what we know about Anthony Edwards. Beyond the fact that he's light years ahead of Luka defensively, so we could start there. But forget about them as basketball talents. Just assume it's apples to apples, or even Luka's a little better. I have Anthony Edwards under contract. He likes it here. He likes the city. He's embraced the community. He likes his teammates. He likes the organization. He's optimistic. Why would I trade all of that certainty for the uncertainty of a superstar who did not ask to be traded, getting traded from Dallas all the way to Minnesota? Like, there's just so much that could go wrong when you have a happy situation at home. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
You know, when I looked at it and you see sort of, maybe let's just say this was the order, right? You go for Anthony Edwards first before you go for Giannis, right? Just because of the age situation. So let's say they called Minnesota first, called Milwaukee after that, and then realized to themselves, oh, we have to trade him to a place that he will love to stay in, even though we're not cornered in that position, right? Because the other team is going to look ahead and say, well, wait a second, it's just going to be our problem 2 years from now. Minnesota, like you said, not exactly the most attractive place in the world. And so it felt like, oh, if we're going to keep this under wraps, we can't go superstar for superstar. We basically have to go for the Lakers and Anthony Davis now, because it's pretty much the only place that has the destination and, you know, the person you can get back in the trade in Anthony Davis. That's what that felt like to me. And I'm with you, Minnesota. Yes, I absolutely do not make that deal. Milwaukee, I probably would have made that deal for Giannis. But again, you're talking about Luka not necessarily being happy there, right? So it felt like that was sort of the order of operations there, where they just had to go from those two immediately then to Anthony Davis.
I'm going to add an addendum to that don't also. don't try to trade your franchise superstar and then fail, right? If you're gonna do it, man. Like, make sure it gets done. You don't want to be in a Kevin Durant situation where, like, Jesus Christ, you try to trade me, and now you got this awkwardness in the locker room.
I've watched enough movies to know those secrets never stay in house.
I mean, look, you don't need to watch movies. You just watch the NBA. It happens all the time. Guys get upset. We had the report from Ramona Shelburne talking about the Suns locker room turning perhaps toxic. Kevin Durant came out and like made this bold, defiant claim that Ramona Shelburne's been in our locker room for 5 minutes, as if like that's the only way she can figure out the vibe is by sitting there and watching people. Like, he actually
only
sat
firsthand accounts.
I love how he like sat there. He's like, guys, before a game, they're locked in on the game, and maybe if you show up for 5 minutes, you would think that it's toxic, but that's not. I'm like, buddy, you should have just said the report's false and left it at that, as opposed to giving exposition.
Just playing semantics, really. I mean, what is toxic in the locker room? Also, it's like what Ramona was saying, it's like it will get worse, meaning this is not a great situation. So the toxicity is what could be said, where if they have a bad game and he'd be like, they wanted to trade me anyway. That's exactly the type of situation we're talking about.
I mean, he hasn't played, so that's the other thing. Like, since all this started, we haven't seen.
Yeah, avoid trying. If somebody makes a phone call for your franchise player, you immediately take a defensive stance. Just kind of listen a little bit, but you can always fall back on, hey, we were never trying to trade you.
We're really good at this advice. Izzy, well, let's do some do's. How about that? Let's give it a little positive as opposed to negative.
Well, I mean, you had the one rule that I think Matt Ishbia did take in and did well. Stadium concessions, make them affordable, right?
Yes, absolutely. $1 hot dogs, $1 popcorn, $1 sodas and water. Here's what I said, or $2, excuse me. Here's what I said. I actually didn't even go that far. I said, man, give everybody in the cheap seats a voucher. So you get at least one round of this. If you want to go like number 2, 3, 4, 5, now at that point you got to pay full price. But like at least a voucher when you come in. If you've got affordable seats, you get affordable concessions, because some of these, it was $9 for a hot dog at the Suns Arena at the Talking Stick Resort. Was it Talking Stick? No, it's called the, I don't know.
Walking Stick.
No, look, I'm old. I can't remember all these names anymore. It's some.
Speaking of old, you know what a lot of maybe some of the older owners have done? Made ridiculous claims in the media. Let's put that back as a don't.
Before we do that, let me give you one more do. Do pay for your own stadium. How about that? Like, enough of this taxpayer man. Like,
I don't think they'll be okay with that.
Well, I'm just telling you, like, they're talking about they want to build a new arena. That's one of the things in the reporting about now. What are the first orders of business for Lori and A-Rod? They want a new building. Pay for it yourself, man. Find a way to, don't put it on the taxpayers. The Warriors did it. The Clippers did it. Both are incredible. They're probably the two best arenas we have in the league. And guess what, man? The taxpayers did not have to bear that brunt. You guys are billionaires for a reason. You're rich people. Find a way. Borrow the money. I don't give a just don't put it on the folks. Don't put it on the working people.
Use some money from Target. I'm sure. I think of Minneapolis. I think of Target immediately.
Me too.
But as I was saying, do not make ridiculous claims in the media. Just here's one example, right? You got Joe Lacob. Didn't he say they were light years ahead of probably every other team in structure, in planning, and how we're going to do about things? That was just sitting on the edge of the cliff, just waiting to just jump, because that was going to be bad for him immediately afterwards.
It was one Draymond Green screaming at Kevin Durant away from just all falling apart. Right?
Exactly, light years away.
Here's another don't. No, seriously, don't make ridiculous claims in the media. Remember Matt Ishbia, he bought the Suns in 2022. They just got in the finals 2021. You're like, okay, we're building on this. He said, ask the other 29 GMs. 26 of them would trade their whole team for our whole team and our draft picks and everything as is. Yikes.
He tried to get Miami's whole team for Kevin Durant, and they wouldn't give it to him.
Yeah.
But if he would have offered the whole team, how do you think that would have gone? Your whole team for my whole team, Miami Heat.
Look, I kind of like it for the Heat. Maybe he's got his on to something.
All right, but here's another don't. Seriously, don't make ridiculous claims in the media. This is a little bit of the Wayback Machine. At least some people want to remember this. Some people don't. Mikhail Prokhorov, you remember he bought the Nets in 2010? Yeah. Quote, if the Nets don't win the NBA championship within 5 years, I will punish myself and get married.
Wow. There's some really grade A 2010 sensibilities there that in 2025, this would be like front page news for all the reasons that have nothing to do with basketball, right? But yeah, did not age so well for Mr. Prokhorov. Luckily, there aren't any examples that from recent times. Oh, wait, no, here's another seriously, don't say dumb in the media. Like Patrick Dumont this week, he said, if you look at the greats in the league, the people you and I grew up with, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, they worked really hard every day with a singular focus to win. I'll remind everybody that Shaq wasn't exactly a vision of work ethic, and Larry Bird ate wedding cakes while he was injured. Wedding cakes.
All right. Most of this list is don't make ridiculous claims in the media, because I got one more. Anything Donald Sterling said. Especially in was it Anderson Cooper? Yeah, and that Anderson Cooper. If Anderson Cooper, let's start here. If Anderson Cooper is interviewing you, something has gone terribly wrong. Okay,
yeah, they don't do that.
Definitely,
they don't do good news.
Definitely don't talk about Big Magic Johnson if you're ever in any capacity. If you're ever on an Anderson Cooper interview. Another
don't for you here. Don't trade unprotected future first. Like, how many times does this have to happen? And it backfires every single time. Every single time. Hey, you think the Celtics are really good? You want to know who to thank? Mikhail Prokhorov, who's out getting married right now, apparently. Like, those things matter. It always feels like, oh my God, who cares in 10 years? Like Nico said, 10 years we'll all be buried. No, we won't.
Yeah, it's got to be an edict for whoever you hire or forever you keep, maybe as GM. It's got to be an edict, but that is more of a GM role, right? I think for an owner, and there's been a few examples of this lately, one thing you can't do is if things go wrong and you lose your big star player, don't retaliate in any way. Don't retaliate in the media. Don't retaliate with a note written in Comic Sans. In fact, just get Comic Sans out of your sort of font library forever.
Yeah.
And when you start to look for Comic Sans, as it's like Anthony Edwards leaves for the Miami Heat. When you look for it and you don't find it, remember why. Okay, I gave you this advice. Get it out of there. Don't retaliate. I mean, you've got Pat Riley with the smiling faces with hidden agendas, right? That was another one. He's not going to live that down, right? That's going to be a phrase that is mentioned with him and LeBron James and everything else. I think it's just safe to just say, hey, be happy with the rest of your career. No hard feelings.
Here's a do. If you do have to do something that pisses off the entire fan base, Patrick Dumont, let them grieve. Like, okay, they're upset. They had a couple of fans removed from the game on Sunday. Two brought in a sign that broke a rule in the NBA Code of Conduct banning signs with explicit language, profanity, or derogatory characterization of any person. I love how that's the text they put out there. So people say, oh, these guys, these drunk fans, I said, hey, suck my whatever, F you, so-and-so. The sign said, fire Nico.
Yeah.
Look, man, that's the job. The job is sometimes people want you fired. You don't protect his feelings. He's a big boy. He can handle it. Another person got kicked out because he wore a T-shirt that had a picture of Miriam Adelson, who is the money behind the majority ownership, with a clown nose on. Again,
which is the Roger Goodell clown nose similar T-shirt. I love seeing this because it sort of paints the picture of just how bad it gets, right? Like, you don't see this happen in games with franchises. It doesn't really, like in Phoenix, right? Are people upset with Matt Ishbia because he might have, thought about trading Kevin Durant? Yeah, right. But are there sort of riots inside the arena? Is it really spilling over to the court? Can the players themselves feel it from the fans? I think that needs to be seen because this was just that big of sort of a cosmic event in the NBA.
And you have to know, right? Like, look, it is your team. You own it. You can make whatever deal you want. Nico Harrison, you are the general manager. You got the marching orders. You got the clearance of ownership. You do the deal and live with it, right? But you have to understand, like, this isn't, people aren't up in arms because you traded Quentin Grimes. You got to understand the context of what you're doing and to behave as if like, how dare these people? How dare they? How dare you? Don't be like that.
You also have to understand that, like, if you want to drive this franchise into the ground, this is what it's going to look like, except worse. Like this, you actually have to live that. This isn't Major League. This isn't a movie. Yeah. It's all not going to end up, all daisies and everything at the end. Like, you have to live this stuff. And if it's starting off this bad and you're only going to get worse potentially, because, Kyrie Irving's not sticking around if things get ugly. If it gets worse and you've got sort of just an ailing, injured big man, like, your fan base is going to let you hear it, and you've got to live forever.
forever, right? Here's another one. Hey, if that happens, right? Like the exact experience you just described is in the team becomes terrible. Don't take the historical icons of the past and have security escort them out. This is called the Jim Dolan rule, right?
Jim Dolan,
Charles Oakley. Look, when your team is struggling, the only thing that's positive within the fan base's mind towards the brand is the memories. It's all about the memories, man. And so when your old greats walk through the hallway, you have to just let them be. Because
especially when you haven't won anything since the Knicks have won anything, and you're kicking out the guy that sort of best represents the spirit of your team. Because again, it's toughness and getting kind of far, but never really making it. Like Charles Oakley's your guy. Can't throw him out.
Here's another don't. I don't know. I'm stuck on the don'ts. There's a lot of don'ts, not a lot of do's. Marc and A-Rod. Sorry. But don't sell your team to anyone from Oklahoma City. No matter how many promises they make about keeping the team in Seattle. Just don't do it. I mean, Minnesota. Did I say Seattle? I don't know why I would say that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at that point, you're not an owner anymore. So you're just trying to make some money.
Well,
don't move your team to Virginia. People seem to hate that. I don't know anything about the area, but see, people were not happy about that.
Yeah, especially if you own the building that you play in right now. You can't even make that argument that like, oh man, we need our own building. You have your own building. Fix that one up.
There's a couple of other notes I would say that owners probably shouldn't. Like A-Rod could understand this. Like your training staff is probably like top of the list in terms of things that's ridiculously important. Because if you want a bunch of Anthony Davises around, you're going to have. You don't need to upgrade your facilities. But if you want a bunch of LeBron Jameses, you're going to need to upgrade your facilities. Not just have the best trainers. And not just trainers with like a bunch of toys and stuff. Trainers that actually know their stuff. Which I feel like I'm not really telling anybody anything they don't know.
Any other dues on the list there is we give them a lot of
if you happen to have an opportunity to hire the best coach, potentially GM in the history of the game, like Pat Riley, you should do it. So congratulations, Mickey Harrison, for setting the tone for all other owners. Go get him.
Yeah, look at that. Izzy giving flowers to Mickey Harrison. I've never seen that one before. But while we're on the topic of flowers, let's do this. On the other side of this break, we're going to give Luka his flowers for his Lakers debut. Stick around.
Welcome back to Oddball. Before we move on, we have to give one player their flowers. This Valentine's Day, 1-800-Flowers.com has you covered. Order early and score huge savings like double the roses for free. Act now. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/oddball. Player we're giving our flowers to this week is, of course, it's Luka Doncic. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists in 24 minutes in his Lakers debut. 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 7 from three-point range. Not the most efficient night, but the Lakers blew out the Jazz anyway. LeBron had his typical night, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 turnovers. Couple interesting things about this game that had nothing to do with the game itself. Dirk was there. And I think he tweeted something about, he's a Mav for life, but he had to support his guy. Did he have to do it the first game? Because Mavs fans are already losing their shit. And now they've got this guy at the Lakers game. So you had to know. You didn't think that Luka thought that oh my God, Dirk's not my guy anymore if you don't show up. But all the Mavs fans are thinking, oh, come on, even Dirk has turned on us.
This is how I'm glad for the world that I am not as talented and beloved as Dirk Nowitzki. Because the agent of chaos in me, my quote would have been, damn, I wish I was a Laker too. Just to like, I'm kidding.
Man, this Laker stuff is really cool. You know what it's like to play in here? That would have been crazy.
I wish someone would have looked at me the way that Luka Doncic looked at LeBron on this fast break. Look at this. We can't show the video, but here's a still shot. This is literally like a millisecond before he throws a full court pass to LeBron James for the.
Was it the feel of excitement because it's the first one of these that I get to throw to LeBron, or was it, I can't wait to see what he's going to do when he gets
No, because you can see the realization in his eyes. He's about to pass.
I'm doing this.
He's like, I see something yellow streaking ahead. Let me hit ahead for an easy bucket. And then he realized, it's LeBron. Ooh, my first assist to LeBron. Like you could see the pure unadulterated joy. That is a 15-year-old Luka Doncic passing to LeBron right there, right? Like this, him reverting to childhood.
The best ones of those, though, that I've seen and still remains is, you remember when Dwayne Wade caught a no-look, I want to say nutmeg pass as well, from LeBron when he was in Cleveland. And as he's catching it, gives LeBron this, oh my God, I can't believe you made that pass, and then laid it up. That to me was like the purest form of, oh my goodness, my teammate is a god, but still completing the play.
Awesome times.
Speaking of a god, Kevin Love has been Instagram just next level, right?
Well,
and
has he? Because you broke some news last week. Yeah.
Not me. Pablo Torre broke some news that he's got a guy. Right. He's got a guy who handles his Instagram, which I am of the belief that Kevin Love is the muse, right? He is the inspiration. He's a director as well. And the other person just does, all the actual work, right? Yeah. But so there's a clip of LeBron James telling Luka, hey, be your effing self, don't fit in, fit the F out. And Kevin Love's response was, punching the air right now, just my thoughts. And if you remember, it's been a decade. I actually talked to Kevin Love about this recently. When LeBron James was trying to convince Kevin Love to not fit out, but to fit in during that first season in Cleveland. And it is just a crazy, hilarious full circle moment. And I do believe that Kevin Love was punching the air. Like, how good do I have to be able to fit out? Instead, I had to fit in like publicly like this.
Also, like the whole fit out, fit in. It reminds me of Michael Jordan saying the ceiling is the roof. And like just like those sayings that other people mess up. Like Charles Oakley, hey, money man, if it ain't broke, don't break it. What's my man, Michael Ray Richardson, the ship be sinking.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of these sayings in NBA history that I think were inadvertently coined by the people who said them. And now this is like LeBron's thing, fit out. 10 years later, fit out, fit in. Remember what a big deal that was, Izzy?
But would you lean in on something that you just got wrong like that? Like just created out of thin air and like fit out? Like that doesn't make any grammatical sense.
Viral decontextualization. Still one of my greatest performing videos ever, man. I'm sorry. You are talking to the master.
I mean, it is kind of a Yogi Berra thing, right? Like Yogi Berra's, his whole vibe wouldn't exist if it wasn't, hey, we understand what you're saying. You just change the English language a little bit. Okay.
Hey, boo-boo. I get it. I'm Yogi Berra. With a picnic basket.
Did Luka seem out of shape to you?
No, he looked like Luka. So take that as you will. Yeah. Yes, I don't know.
It's interesting because he's got like the shoulder thing, right? The compression sleeve, but it's only on one. So the other one he's actually still wearing. And he doesn't look like a guy terribly out of shape. He looks like the guy you could tell if he takes his shirt off. It's like a good 18% body fat under there.
He's a guy that goes into the pool. He's a guy that goes into a pool with his shirt on. But hey, either way, Luka Doncic, this Valentine's Day, we want to say thank you and congratulations. Here are your flowers. 1-800-Flowers.com has you covered on Valentine's Day. Order early and score huge savings like double the roses for free. Act now. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/oddball. By the way, this is stat of the day for you here. Career points as a Laker. Luka Doncic, 14. Bronny James, 14. Neck and neck.
Why do we do this to Bronny James?
Luka has
Can we trade him
right?
to Minnesota? At this point, do you think LeBron would prefer his son get traded? Like he's already done the thing he's played for him. Just go play somewhere else, get some minutes and not get so much microscope on you.
Not until Bryce is in the league. Then Bronny can kick rocks, right? Like you're just a placeholder until the real show begins. You a Bryce guy?
Am I a Bryce guy? I think Bryce is definitely going to be better than Bronny. I don't know what that means. And I don't know how long LeBron's going to be in the league. So I don't know if Bryce gets the Nepo advantage.
I don't know how long Bronny's going to be in the league.
Well said.
We need odds from DraftKings on whether LeBron, or not whether, when LeBron will adopt Luka. and it's your move, Michael Jordan. Who you got? You got to go adopt Victor Wembanyama at that point, right? Oh, man. It's been a fun show. We got one more of these to go, Izzy, before we go off to All-Star break. I want to remind everybody out there, Michael Jordan is still the greatest player of all time, unquestioned.